It's Halloween! And last time on the channel, we saw how The Exorcist was translated into all sorts of languages. So, what are we gonna learn about today?
The facts of life, stupid.
Okay, no need to be rude.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna the shit out of
Whoa, dude! So, okay, The Exorcist was a big deal. Like, a big deal. It made a ton of money, it won Oscars, it made a ton of money. It was, and still is, called one of the scariest movies of all time, and it made a ton of money. It was actually the highest grossing film that year. So hey, if you can't feed them, join them! Today, we're looking at 4 movies that tried their best to capitalize on The Exorcist with their own versions of the iconic film. I'm excluding films I feel stray too far from the original, including Magdalena von Teufel besessen and Exorcismo, despite the Spanish Exorcismo having an exorcism scene in a woman's bedroom, and Magdalena actually casting one of the original actors from The Exorcist. They're just too distinct from the original to be worth commenting on, not to mention boring. So let's start off in Turkey with our first film, Satan. Satan is part of a large series of Turkish rip-off films, like Turkish Rambo, and Turkish Star Wars, and Turkish Spider-Man, and Turkish Batman. Geez, there were a lot of these. But Satan doesn't just capitalize on the name. No, it's actually a shot-for-shot remake of the original film, using Turkish actors, locations, and budgets apparently. Is that tape? So yeah, shot-for-shot remake. So, unsurprisingly, the story is identical to that of the original Exorcist. Mom has a wonderful kid gets possessed by a demon, she starts off as a moody, temperamental, spoiled brat, you know, like all teenagers, until she eventually becomes this sick, disgusting-looking demonic horror, swearing up a storm, prone to bursts of violence, and becoming obsessed with every obscene sex act one can imagine. You know, like all teenagers. Priest shows up, exorcises the demon, fails to exorcise the demon. Yeah, people don't talk a lot about that aspect of the film. Christianity fails. Father Karras lets the demon inside him, and then finally commits suicide to kill the demon. Except, actually, yeah, Father Karras. Interesting title there. Because there is one important difference between Satan and The Exorcist. Everyone is Muslim! Well, the mom doesn't seem to be. That much they keep the same. But yeah, the cultural context of this movie is Islam. There is no Catholic Church in this movie. So, no priests. Okay, then what about Father Karras? Well, he's a secular psychologist and book author. I can't even describe in how many ways this misses the point of the original film. First of all, Father Karras' entire story arc revolves around his faith. Karras is a priest that has lost his faith in God, and as such, has lost most of his reason to keep on living, especially after the death of his mother, which he feels responsible for. It's only through helping this poor mother with her child that he finds a purpose for his life and his faith in God restored. This author guy is not religious! So the entire point of the story arc of one of the main characters is gone. Second, Father Karras devoted his life to spreading the good news about the Lord Jesus Christ, foregoing a life of material possessions in order to strengthen his faith in God, which led him to a virtuous path of moderation, which means he doesn't make a lot of money, which means that when his mother is in trouble, he doesn't really have the means to help her. Therein lies the big problem. His own faith made it so that people he loves the most have to suffer. This gives Karras a deep sense of guilt that he has to struggle with all throughout the film. In Satan, why the hell doesn't Karras help out his mom? Look at the apartment he lives in. It looks swanky. I couldn't even afford to live there. Clearly he must make some money for himself. If you care that much about your mom, let her live with you, you bastard! This makes no sense! 3, if Father Karras isn't a priest, then how the hell does the mom get into contact with him? I mean, for most of the movie, the Karras plot and the Regan plot have nothing to do with each other. religion and the renunciation of God being the only thematic thread connecting these two stories together, another thing Satan lacks. But midway through the movie, Chris MacNeil and Father Karras meet. But why go to him? And how did they meet? Well, simple, he's a priest. She was desperate for spiritual care a secular person couldn't give. The church set it up. The church fills in this absence in the plot, and without it, there's a giant plot hole. How does Reagan's mom find the book author? I don't know. Why does Reagan's mom choose to go to a secular book author? I don't know. Because she read his book? Well, that's contrived. It doesn't even make any sense. Why would a secular, looks down on religion, Chris MacNeil, read a book on demonic possession? Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Because it apparates in the attic out of nothingness! It's just there! Even she doesn't know how it got there!
Bu kitap senin mi? Hayır, bu kitabı ilk defa görüyorum.
How? Why? I don't know! It seems like the writers were just stuck in a corner and they just thought, hey, Satan put it there. Well, why would Satan give her the contact info of a guy that could stop him? What is he, an idiot? Oh, yeah, right. I guess that does lead well to the next thing. How does one say?
How shall one say, Director?
The demon is freaking annoying!
Exactly. Very well put.
I mean, honestly, the demon in the original can be a bit annoying too. It's a bit of a one-trick pony for most of the movie, in my opinion. But this demon, oh man, this thing has the most annoying laugh, and I swear to God, it must belt it out at least once every 20 seconds. And every time it happens, I just want to smack it across the face and say, hey!
Phạm Tài Giận.
There are other minor differences too, but those are the big ones. Even the final exorcism scene is pretty much the same, even despite the fact that it's a sheikh instead of a priest. But what little is changed is really, really noticeable, and honestly brings down the quality of the film, which leads me to... So yeah, as expected, the movie isn't exactly as good as the original, but you expect that. It's a low-budget version of the original, and to be fair, you can tell that they're trying. It's just that they don't succeed very well. I was honestly pretty bored halfway through the movie and was just waiting for it to end quicker. It's interesting for fans of the original to see how they go about copying the movie, and I'll admit, it is genuinely interesting how the writers had to warp the story to fit around the cross-shaped hole they deliberately made for themselves. But overall, I'd give this a 4 out of 10. So yeah, that's the Turkish Exorcist. So now let's head to America and look at the Black Exorcist. No, I promise, I'm not racist. That's actually what it is. Back in the 70s, there's this big wave of exploitation movies. Basically movies that rely upon one really specific gimmick to lure people into the seats. Sex and violence were the main things, thus those are what are generically called exploitation movies. But then there are all the weird varieties. Nunsploitation, Nazi-sploitation, Bruce-sploitation, because yes, people made Bruce Lee movies after he was dead. And the topic of this segment, Blaxploitation. Oh, what? You don't believe me that there are films that used blackness to get people into the seats? Yeah, if you don't, well, I got 2 words for you. Blackenstein and Blackula. In fact, Blackula is the Father Merrin equivalent of this movie. But yeah, maybe we should start talking about it now. It's called Abby. Here's the plot. A priest and archaeologist, Dr. Garrett Williams, goes to uncover a secret artifact sealed in a box. He opens it, and a great gust of wind rushes out, leading us to a quiet American town. A black couple are moving into a new house. A family-oriented and religious black couple, Emmett and Abby, thus the title. Abby is a model citizen, great person, volunteers at church, and is a marriage counselor by trade. She lives her life in kind of a meandering fashion, honestly, until suddenly she gets possessed. Oh no! And she starts to slowly but surely act up. She's preparing food and she cuts herself. She's in church and goes ballistic. Her husband tries to gently, and with a quirky sense of light fun, initiate sex with his loving wife, and she kicks him in the balls! Oh! Oh, it Damn! Right in the yarbles! I don't think I've ever seen a guy get it that bad. Oh, God! Needless to say, Abby's possession makes her spew obscenities, makes her obsessed with sex, and leans her towards violence. Just like in the original, she even goes as far as to kill someone. Except in this movie, we actually see it, and it's pretty brutal too! Like, damn! Get them licks in, Abby! It's at this point in the movie where she ends up getting sent to the hospital until Father Garrett Williams, comes back home at the behest of his son. She escapes the hospital and tries to convince her husband and stepfather that she's fine, but they aren't buying that for nothing. She escapes and ends up going on a sex-fueled bender across town, just banging everything that moves, including one part where she screws a guy so hard she kills him! The husband and Garrett, show up at the bar and find Abby. She flips out, everyone leaves, and the movie ends with the final exorcism scene where the demon is exorcised out of her via the Mafuba technique! Well, that was random! So the outline is pretty similar to The Exorcist, but I didn't give you too much detail on the plot because the specifics are all really different, especially in the second half. A lot of the small ones are actually pretty interesting. In the original Exorcist, we're led to believe that there's physically nothing wrong with her, despite clearly something physically being wrong with her. But in Abby, it seems like the demon is basically fudging the tests, so that there are things for the doctors to find, it's just that they're deliberately being hidden. In fact, the demon in general seems a lot more intelligent and autonomous in this movie. In the original, at the height of the demon's powers, he's strapped to a bed the whole time. Regan in general is far more contained, controlled. And after all, Regan is a kid. The parents would have control. But Abby is an adult. She's an independent, autonomous adult who is not strapped down to the bed. She will smack you up, cause a ruckus, and if she sees that she's losing in a situation, she'll just run away. A lot of the third act is just the two main characters trying to find Abby as she's going through this sex-crazed bender, which, yeah, that's the other consequence of her being an adult. In the original, she talks about sex and penises and butts and whatever, but in this movie, she doesn't, man. She is thirsty, and she can quench it, man. Remember that clip from the beginning of the video? Yeah, well, Abby is a marriage counselor, so she was propositioning herself to a client right in front of his wife. One more weird difference in the movie, there is no Father Karras character, just Marin. And Marin, rather than being a frail old man, is a charismatic man in what looks like his 40s, and the man is charming. I mentioned Blackula as a joke, but dang, I want to watch it if this guy's in it. You'd have to watch the movie to know, but he just has screen presence, and a really cool voice, I might add.
Well, it's obvious you're not the real issue, with the power to vanquish your enemies, or you'd be where I am now, and I'd be powerless, like you.
Nothing wrong with Father Marin, but this guy is super cool, super high, he's super fly. Wait, wrong movie. So, wow, this movie. Final review. The beginning is slow, and yeah, the only copy of the movie I could find is of really horrible quality. I was really bored at the start, and honestly, I wasn't looking forward to watching the rest of it. I just wanted it to end. Then the demon shows up, and the movie becomes amazing. If you can push through that beginning part of the movie, you are in for a ride. I might have revealed some of the more outlandish bits, but not all of them. Watch the movie, man. Everyone needs to see Abby. 8 out of 10. Booyah! Now that we're done with the Black Exorcist, let's talk about the Italian Exorcist, specifically a movie called L'Esorcicchio, starring, written, and directed by the same guy, Ciccio Ingrassia. Yeah, you can see what they were going for. But it's not quite as self-aggrandizing as one would think. In fact, his real name is Francesco Ingrassia. Ciccio is his stage name, and he's a really big star in Italy. He had enough clout to get Buster Keaton to work on one of his movies. I can personally vouch for the movie 002 Operazione Luna. It's a fun time. The man has starred in over 100 films, a good number of them starring his right-hand man, Francesco Benato. Together, they are the pair of Franco and Ciccio, the comedy duo in Italian cinema. They're gonna bring their own comedic spin on one of the greatest horror movies of all time, The Exorcist. Oh no. The father Marin of the film, who is played by Ciccio, sans his comedic partner, because comedic duos splitting up has always worked out really well for them, is in the desert uncovering ancient artifacts. Whoa, whoa, what are you doing? Imagine if Indiana Jones caught him doing something like that.
That belongs in a museum.
Anyway, he unlocks this demonic artifact and... Jeez Louise with a can of cheese! Who is this guy? Then, soccer game. Yeah. During the game, a boy finds the same artifact. Then we see a family eating at the table. The father is a politician and tries to marry off his daughter to some priest guy. And the kid is making faces. Yeah, he's possessed. So the father is managing his political campaign against that piece of filth, Randazzo. When a woman pulls up and seeks retribution, you see the politician's young boy raped a 21-year-old woman. And he does it a lot. That's the main thing with the boy. No swearing or obscenities, he just rapes. Thankfully we never see the rapes on screen, but damn, this kid gets around. This prompts the father to call the eponymous Eserciccio. He shows up to his house and, well, does the best he can. Eventually, by sheer luck and happenstance, the boy drops the pendant, and that makes the demon go away. So the exorcist takes the credit for it, and all is fine and good. That is until the daughter picks up the pendant, and the exact same thing happens. The daughter becomes possessed and turns into... You know, why do these movies try so hard to make Reagan hot? The German Exorcist did the same thing. What the hell is wrong with you? The family calls the exorcist again, and after the boy got possessed and turned into a sex offender, and the daughter got possessed and turned into someone you wish would offend you sexually, the mother grows a beard.
Okay.
So they desperately try to fix the situation because the husband's wife having a beard would be bad for his political career for some reason. So Ciccio disguises her as a priest and goes to the barber with her when suddenly, gasp! It's Randazzo! So now they gotta cut off the beard while making sure that Randazzo doesn't figure out that his political opponent is the husband of the bearded lady. This is made more complicated when the beard grows back instantly upon being cut. Shenanigans ensue, and then the wife runs away, drops the pendant she's exorcised, and walks out, bumping into Randazzo on the way out. He figures that the most logical way to explain the events that just happened is that his rival's wife is cheating on him for the priest of earlier, which means that he's a bad politician, apparently. His star witness is, of course, the barber, but because the barber is now possessed with the trinket, he just doesn't go along with Randazzo's plan. This results in the father winning his bid for mayor, so he goes to get a shave, which makes the chair float, because it's not so much possessing the barber as the chair?
Okay.
After that happens, the father, now mayor, gets possession of the trinket, and then straight up takes a piss all over Parliament. If only our own politicians could be so honest about their intentions. This causes a gigantic brawl where all the characters beat the snot out of each other, and the German guy turns into Hitler! In the final scene, the exorcist himself gets the charm and swallows it. He now is the devil fully and completely. The end. What else can be said, but...
Okay.
Now, based on that plot synopsis, you probably think that has little to do with The Exorcist, and yeah, in terms of plot, it's completely different. But the movie is a parody. As a result, there are whole scenes lifted from The Exorcist to give them a comedic edge. Like they x-ray the son, just like how they did an MRI scan in the original, and they find panties?
Ah, naturally. Come prevedeva questa mutanda di donna, signorina, in archivio.
They actually have the detective show up and they have the same interaction that they did in the original.
È falso!
The girl's exorcism is recreated from the original, but it's in the middle of the movie, so once it's finished, you're left wondering what the hell could happen next. Then the beard thing happens. If you watch the film, you can see how so many of the jokes are just references to the original. Sometimes they're really funny. One of my favorite ones is right here.
You're gonna die up there.
In the original film, this is a really disturbing scene. The first signs of Reagan's possession in the theatrical cut, but in the Italian version, the father is so focused on his campaign that he doesn't even care.
Tu morirai.
Non è che anche tu adesso ti metti a pisciare per terra? Via, a letto! Mi scusi, sono ragazzi, sa, allora delle volte.
In fact, the politician thing is one of the biggest differences, and a source of a lot of the movie's humor. A far cry from the devoted mother who wants to protect her child at literally any cost. These parents only seem to care about the horrible things happening to their children insofar as it affects their political campaign.
Mamma, invece di far venire l'esorciccio non era meglio chiamare un bravo medico di Roma?
sei impazzita? Ma non lo sai che siamo in periodo elettorale? E se tutti quelli che votano per tuo padre vengono a sapere che tuo fratello ha fatto quelle cose orrende che...
The other big difference is, well, the Exorcicchio himself. In the original, he's a wise old man, knowledgeable in the ways of the devil. In this version, he's basically a con man, if not a New Age quack mystic. None of his plans to fight the demon work. In fact, the demon always seems to lose by happenstance. He's a bumbling clown and a scam artist. He fakes the phone calls of satisfied clients in front of other clients to make himself look better.
Grazie a lei la mia piccola Isabella si sposa domani. Lei è il più grande parapsicologo del mondo.
One of the funnier bits in the movie, in my opinion. The exorcism of the daughter is filled with funny little jokes, my favorite being how he recreates Father Karras' sacrifice.
God damn you, take me!
Except when he does it, the demon doesn't take him up on it.
Perché non vieni da me?
Or instead of pausing in order to take a break from the demon that they're exorcising, he just decides to dip and lets the assistant take care of everything.
Che sei stanco? E allora mi vado a riposare un po', eh?
The movie, as I've described, sounds like a faithful and really fascinating version of a classic. A Zucker Brothers style riff on one of the greatest horror films of all time. But... look, there's no other way to say it. I would recommend watching this movie as an experiment. An experiment to see the perfect example of a first draft of a script. Lots of the bits here are really funny. But as a story, this movie really drags. The movie ends like 3 times, things meander, and stuff just happens. There's a really good clip from Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the South Park people, that shows exactly what's wrong with this movie.
We can take these beats, which are basically the beats of your outline, and if the words "and then" belong between those beats, you're f***ed. What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word "therefore" or "but."
This movie's a perfect example of a film that breaks that rule every chance it gets. There's no good transition between the bits of plot and the jokes. Stuff just happens to give Chicchio the opportunity to be funny. Which he is, but you can't make a good movie based on one funny guy. It's a shame, because if this movie was just rewritten a couple more times, I think we could have had a classic here. Not a recommended movie for you to watch, though, might I dare say, for the good bits in it and the clever twists on the characters, it begs for a remake. I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. Alright, our final movie! Now that we're done with the Italian Exorcist, let's talk about the Italian Exorcist.
You've already had it.
We've had one, yes. What about second Italian Exorcist? Okay, so this is a weird one. It's called Beyond the Door. The movie starts off with this really atmospheric intro, where an evil voice is talking to the audience.
Enjoy yourselves, but don't forget that stranger sitting in the seat next to you could be me.
Like, whoa, man, let's see what this movie's about. Then some kind of crap happens where somebody dies off a car crash or something, and then the movie starts. Woman leaves to do stuff in her car, and a band is playing the intro song. And it's pretty funky, too.
Find her, and I'll shovel your coal. Yeah!
Stop! It's got about as much balls as a castrated jellyfish.
Wait, what? This is one of our main characters, Robert, the husband of the actual main character, Jessica, a loving wife and mother of 2 children, one of whom has quite the potty mouth.
Holy shit, can't you get a load of that crap? God damn it, I forgot my book!
Who raised this child?
Sounds like a jerk-off session in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Anyway, she announces that she's pregnant. The problem is that the child is kind of the devil. Wah, wah. All throughout the movie, she becomes more and more erratic, more and more possessed until the end where she starts to look all Reaganish. The whole movie is just a series of demonic events. She eats rotten bananas and makes out with her own children. Yeah, this demon's really weird. And she tries to tell her husband that she wants to abort, but he's super dismissive of her.
I don't want to have this baby, Robert. I don't.
We'll talk about it later.
Jeez, what a douche. All these random things happen until eventually an ex-lover, Dimitri, comes back on the scene. A lover that she still has lingering feelings and thoughts about. Apparently he was super deep and sensual and way better than her husband. Yeah, he's way better than you. Ugh. Maybe these two can set up a support network. But anyway, he pops in the movie telling them that he's the only one that knows how to stop it. So he's kind of like Father Merrin. He takes charge of the exorcism, which the husband allows for some reason. I mean, he already tried most of medical science and they didn't do squat, but the mother in the original was at least involved with the priest as they were doing their thing. In this movie, a perfect stranger just pops into this guy's life saying, "I need to spend lots of intimate time with your wife completely alone with no interference from you." And he's like, sure, what's the worst that could happen? Well, it turns out that was a mistake because, plot twist, this guy was working for Satan the whole time. Yeah, at some point when the demon really takes control, it's revealed that the devil wants to be incarnated or something through the child, and he needs Dimitri to help him out. If not, he'll instantiate a car crash that happened years ago, implying that he miraculously saved his life just so that he could extract a favor from this guy. Or maybe not?
I never intended to let you live. I did it for my amusement.
Yeah, it's not really clear what the devil's plan is aside from just messing with people. Maybe throwing a chair or two. But anyway, at the end of the movie, it shows the devil laughing, Dimitri is missing, presumably killed, the woman is cured, there's something that's born, and everyone goes back to have fun on a boat. The son's eyes glow green. He opens up a birthday present he had wrapped up since the beginning of the movie, and it's revealed to be Dimitri's car, which he throws off the boat, instantiating his death. Yeah, that was wow. So as you can tell, woman gets possessed by demons, she looks all messed up and Reagan-y, blah blah blah, but most of the plot doesn't center around that. In fact, the demon is inside of a child, and part of the film is all about how little they take the various issues the wife has seriously. In fact, it steals a lot more from Rosemary's Baby than it does The Exorcist. Only at the very end of the movie is there any hint of exorcism activities. Even that is incredibly different from the source material. Making the wise figure that knows all into a secret double agent is a clever twist that I didn't see coming. I may sound dismissive of the movie in my synopsis, but I think this movie is pretty dang good. I think you should check it out, not in spite of the differences from The Exorcist, but because of them. It's a totally different movie with a different mood and atmosphere, and some pretty memorable lines, lots of which I didn't share here so that you could be surprised for yourself. So you might be wondering if that's all true, and if it's so different from the original, why did I include it in my video about Exorcist ripoffs? Because Warner Brothers sued the crap out of them. Yeah, apparently this movie gets a pass, but the Italian one? Man, screw Italy. Their country's shaped like a Boo! That's not a real thing. Sue those guys. In fact, sue Abby too while we're at it. So yeah, I have to include it here because despite the various changes, this is legally speaking a ripoff of The Exorcist. One that honestly, you should check out. The effects are good, the scenes are creepy, the weird scenes are funny, the plot is well structured. I was never bored throughout the watching of this movie. Doesn't quite have the same hilarious heights of Abby, but this is the most competently made film of all the ones we've seen today. 7 out of 10. Highly recommend. So go ahead, watch this movie, and any of the movies we've showcased here, and have a happy Halloween! Or, you know, just watch The Exorcist.
Your mother sucks in hell, Paris.
Yeah, that works too.
Find her and I'll shovel your coal. Yeah, one touch and I'll give you control. One kiss, you can double your toe. One night and I'll sell you my soul.